Welcome to more Fanime. What's up, everybody? Today, I'm here to talk about chapter 1097 of the One Piece manga. Oh yes, baby. And this chapter is called Guinea. I wasn't sure if, Kuma's future wife is named Guinea or Ginny. It's kind of been confusing. I guess it's Guinea. It must be Guinea. We must have figured that out by now, right? Can you believe that we're on chapter 1097? We are 3 away from 1100. Oh yeah, 1100. We are on the cusp. And next week, no break. We are finally 3 weeks in a row with no break. Ichiro Oda is on fire right now, people. And we are deep in the Kuma flashback, and I think we're getting oh so close. I predict that next chapter will be the last part, or at least most of the last part of Kuma's flashback. I assume that chapter 1099, it'll be like half flashback and half return to Egghead Island, and we kind of find out what's going to happen. Prediction here, Kuma's going to show up. He's on his way with his pawpaw fruit. He's going to show up, save his daughter, Bonnie. Oh, yes. Using the power of the pawpaw fruit, he might even heal everybody and then send the pain back at the demon that is Saturn. I can see that happening, and I predict there's no other way. We also have the giant robot. I feel like Kuma and the giant robot are gonna team up or some shit, or combined and make the ultimate fighting force and use some kind of self-destruction to destroy Saturn and himself. We are on the path to the death of Kuma. It is said and it will be done. I promise you, Kuma will not make it out of the Egghead Island arc, and we will all cry. I honestly never care. I've always liked Kuma as a character, but he's never been in my top 10, top 20 or anything like that. I think he fulfills his role perfectly, but with this backstory, I have slowly become a huge fan of the Paws of Liberation, the man, the myth, the legend that is Kuma. So, before we get into spoiler territory, do not forget to comment, share, and subscribe to more Fanime. Let's do it. So, this chapter kicks off, years later after Kuma and Guinea have lived together for, 10, 15 years. I'm not going to go over all the time jumps because there's a lot of them. I feel like every page you turn in chapter 1097, Kuma and Guinea are aging, 4 or 5 years, and they're just getting a little older and a little, more pissed off at the world that they've been born into. And they're like, we need to join this revolution that Dragon in the papers is putting together. And we see that, I assume they know that Ivankov is part of the group as well. So, yeah, they are getting a little PO'd, but Kuma's a kind man. He became a pastor, spreading the word of Nika, I'm assuming. He is he's probably going, hey guys, we're here to talk about the sun god Nika, and by the end, they all come because they're like the elderly of this island who have been segregated because they can't afford to pay the taxes. And essentially, the owner of Sorbet, not the owner, the king of Sorbet, is an asshole, and he wants to pay the celestial dragon so he don't get his head chopped off or get replaced. I wouldn't be surprised if this current king was put there in charge by celestial dragons to keep order, and he decides to cut the island in half, and the poor and the weak and the sick can live on the other half, and only the ones up top who can afford to work and pay the toll will be allowed to live in the nice part of town and get all the good foods and whatnot. Well, guess what? Kuma's church is in the southern part, the part with the poor, the weak, and the elderly, and he's there to help. So he's having these Sunday sermons, and these old and sick people are showing up going, Kuma, will you please fix me? And Kuma's using his pawpaw fruit. He's like, expel your pain. Hey, yeah. And, the little paw bubbles pop out, and he's piling them all up at the end of the church service, and he's like, thanks for coming, guys. And they're even asking for more, and Guinea shows up like, this only goes on Sundays. I am sick of it as it is. You fucking freeloaders, get out. I like Guinea. I like the attitude. I do. They leave, and apparently every Sunday, Kuma takes away all these people's pain, and I'm sure it increases every week with the people they tell to join this service. And he takes their pain. He literally absorbs their pain. That's the kind of church I want to go to, I tell you what. And then he's got to be, luckily he's a buccaneer, and he's tough as nails, and honestly, this might have been the ultimate training for him to become stronger. So he does this every Sunday, and it probably takes at least 2-3 days to recover from this kind of pain that these people are going through. And then they come on back. They come on back next Sunday. He's like, hey, I stubbed my toe yesterday, and I could probably heal naturally, but I gotta move. I gotta cut some wood or something to get some food. Come on. And Kuma's just like, okay. Kuma's just a sweetheart. Eventually, the king gets a little crazy and decides to allow the haves, take the have-nots from the southern part, the elderly, the sick, the weak, and make them their own personal slaves. Makes the weak their slaves, makes the people who live in the poor part of the country of Sorbet basically not real people anymore. And Kuma's like, so you want to make your own people into slaves? That's the final straw. Kuma goes, all right. Ursa shock, and he starts fucking shit up. That's what I was wondering. I was like, stop taking their pain, Kuma. Take their pain and give them to the assholes. Give it to the bad people. Take the pain from the good people and just expel it at the bad. Wouldn't that be the better decision? I guess Kuma's just too nice of a guy to do so. But Kuma's kicking ace, taking names, and eventually he gets captured by the Sorbet Kingdom along with Guinea and his followers, the 2 kids that were fucking with them at the last chapter, who will eventually become Bonnie's crewmates when Bonnie creates her crew down the line. But they're trapped, but they get saved by the rebel fighting force, the Revolutionary Army. The freedom fighters show up at the last second. Dragon, without his tattoo, along with Ivankov and a squad of revolutionaries, are here to save the effing day and recruit Kuma and rebuild Sorbet, the islands that can fight back. Probably the more outskirts islands, since this is like the early days of the revolution. They don't have a lot of monies. Kuma even asks Dragon, how did you get so well-versed in weaponry and whatnot, and using guns and all that stuff? And, Dragon just says it plain and simple. I was in the Navy. What? Dragon was in the Navy, people. People have been predicting this for years, that he might have been in the Navy since his papa is Garp. It makes total sense. And there's a good chance that Dragon was probably an admiral with his wind logia. I'm liking it, people. I'm loving it. Because if that means that Dragon served along with somebody like, I don't know, Akainu, more than likely that's why Akainu hates Luftdog and the whole Monkey D family, and the pieces are coming together, people. I really hope when we finally get to dive deep into old Dragon's backstory, we finally get to see, his Marine past and see who he actually interacted with. My prediction here is that he was an admiral along with Akainu and probably Kizaru or maybe somebody else. And when he left, somebody like, I don't know, Aokiji took his place. Yes, it fits the timeline. Sure does. Yeah, that's a lot to say, I know. But we find out Dragon's in the Navy, or was in the Navy, and he recruits Kuma. Kuma's like, I want to serve. I want to be part of this revolution. I want to help people like the sun god, Nika. So we see some more time jumps. Giddy joins as well, and some of the people of Sorbet. Kuma keeps coming back to take people's pain away when he has time. He's become the de facto king of the Sorbet, the protector. Somehow he is eventually known as the tyrant Kuma, which is a lie. Maybe he had to make up that lie. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he had to do some bad shit, because at the end of this chapter, Dragon gets the information that Guinea, who was waiting to team up with Kuma's squadron, got captured. Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, Guinea looks fine as hell now that she's a little older and badass in her new revolutionary gear. Just, people are trying to marry her left and right, and she even tries to ask Kuma to marry her, and he's like, I seen what happened to my mommy and daddy, and I don't want that to happen to you. So he doesn't do it. But I'm still thinking that she might be the Bonnie's mommy. But she could easily be Luffy's mommy as well. Or even Nami's at this point. We know very little about all of them and their mothers. So any one of them, more than likely Luffy or Bonnie. I don't know, because Guinea knows Dragon and Guinea knows Kuma. Or maybe they're brother and sister, we don't know. And they got split up, and Dragon took one, and Kuma took one, and Guinea dies. I have a big feeling that Guinea's gonna die. It'll be a big shocker if somehow she's still alive, undercover with the Revolutionary Army or some shit. Or somehow she's like a member of the Gorosei. She is Emu. That would be nutso butso. But I'm 100% sure that's not true. Guinea got taken. She got taken captive, but by who? I have to assume it's the Celestial Dragons. I can only imagine, or maybe somebody like a Kainu or a Marine of sorts. Garp would be a surprise choice to capture Guinea, but I feel like she's going to be held ransom, and maybe they're going to make Kuma act like a tyrant, kind of like how Odin had to act like a fool doing that dance in his underwear back at Wano. You see where I'm going with this? They could really take Kuma's name and rub it in the dirt before they make him turn into a cyborg, and eventually he does do all that stuff. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little done. Yes, I'm loving this backstory, and I think it's because I'm reading these week to week. I am ready to get back to Egghead Island. If it's next week, that'd be so great, but I have a feeling next week is one more flashback episode of this chapter, of these arcs. And that's fine, and I'm sure it's going to be great, and I'm sure there's going to be some revelations. But I'm ready to get back to the crew. I'm ready to see what they're up to. It's been so long. I mean, really, when was the last time a member of the Straw Hat crew had like a story revelation, or like an expansion on their backstory, or something? I know they're pretty well developed characters, and we're developing other ones right now, but really the last time was when we found out Sanji's full backstory. Let's get back in there. I mean, really, what has Brook even done? Like, this entire arc, Brook has literally stayed on the ship and done nothing. My predictions before was like, maybe Brook will take on Kaku. That would have been a fun fight. Oda. Brook versus Kaku. Brook could have showed off his sword skills against the Giraffe Man, because Zoro obviously can take him out with the quickness. Since Zoro's out there fighting the fucking Lucci right now. Lucci and Zoro are fighting right now in the background. I'm so tired of skipping these fights, Oda. Like, we didn't really watch a lot of Law versus Blackbeard. We got one chapter of some of that fight. I'm hoping the anime expands on some of these, but I feel like Oda has, if you put a scale up, like, I would love it if the fans of More Fanime in the comments would go through the series and be like, what fights have been completely skipped over by Oda in the manga? I mean, it's got to be 50-50 at this point. There has to be fights that happened in the background that Oda just said, they don't need to see that. And I'm hoping that down the line, we might see it in flashbacks, things that might have happened. But I didn't mind skipping the fights against the Seraphim on Egghead Island. That did not matter to me. But seeing Lucci and Zoro, I feel like it's not going to happen now. We are going to come right back to Egghead Island, and we have to cut right back to whatever the fuck Saturn's doing with Bonnie and Kuma saving the effing day. Great. But Oda, can you just give me one chapter? One full 15 to 17 page chapter of Zoro versus Lucci? I'd very much appreciate it. I really want to see that fight in the manga. I mean, maybe the anime will give us a little more. Maybe. I mean, you one-shotted Eustace Kid. Come on, come give us something. I know that you're all about the story, and so am I. I love your story, Oda. But give me the meat. I'm tired of eating these appetizers. Give me the meat and potatoes. No, but I love One Piece, and I love this Kuma flashback, and I feel like it's almost over. Oda's really running through it. If he really wanted to, he could probably drag this fucker out if he wanted to. Since we're not at God Valley anymore, lost my interest a tad bit, because a lot of the stuff, like Dragon being part of the Navy, has been predicted for years, so it wasn't as big of a spoiler to somebody like me, but maybe somebody, not even a spoiler, but a revelation, maybe because I've read that theory so many times. I'm like, it's basically headcanon, and now it's canon. I'm like, we got lots of canons going on here, right? One Piece, chapter 1097. What did you think, people? What did you think of this part of Kuma's life? I feel so bad for the guy, because I feel like pain is about to come. He had a few good years of taking other people's pain, but he got to live with, Guinea, someone he probably really loved, and I assume is going to have Bonnie anytime soon now. I assume next chapter we're going to find out who she is the mum of, for sure. Yeah, comment down below. Let me know who you think Guinea is the mum of. And also comment down below if we think we're going to find out some... you know who I want to... Fuck the comments. You know what I want? I want some more Cross-Guild information, Goda. Yeah, I miss Crocodile. I do. The last time we saw Buggy, it was one of the best chapters ever. It was awesome. He was declaring that he wants to be king of the pirates, and he wants to get the One Piece. Yeah, let's get back to that. Maybe some cover stories. This week's cover story was just an extension of this fucking chapter. More of, Kuma catching salmon with his pawpaw fruit going boop, boop, boop. I'm over it. Let's get back to the cover stories. That's all I'm asking. All right. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to tell me your thoughts on this chapter. Tell me where Kuma ranks in your favorite 7 warlords, or all the warlords so far in the series. I'd like to know that. Whew. I'll talk to you later.